Hi everybody, I'm here to talk today about crypto IPOs. With the Coinbase IPO coming out, a lot of people are wondering about other crypto companies IPOing and what that means for Bitcoin. And I wanted to just quickly say I apologize for the lighting and audio. I am currently visiting Austin to check out apartments. I'm moving from San Francisco to Austin and I've got to do this on my laptop. All right, y'all, let's hop into it. Okay, so I wrote this in my newsletter. It's my weekly newsletter that comes out on Thursdays. If you want to get this first on Thursdays, subscribe below. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into it. So Coinbase is IPOing. They're coming out to IPO here in the next couple of weeks. They just kind of rocked the world with their Q1 2021 financials that they disclosed. The biggest shock was their revenue number of $1.8 billion in revenue for the quarter. That's huge. It actually makes Coinbase's valuation at $100 billion pretty sensible given the revenue multiplier that you would apply to other companies like other exchanges, like NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. Other metrics included we'll skip over some of these, but pretty high profits, lots of assets on platform, and their verified user number was really interesting. So verified users are users who have verified their email address, and they had 6.1 million monthly transacting users, which is the number that they use to quantify how many people have traded and or performed another function on the exchange. 56 million 56 million users makes it larger than Robinhood, Cash App, and Venmo, which is pretty wild. I mean, Venmo is a popular tool that I'm in my 30s and a lot of people use, and Robinhood's super popular. It makes Coinbase, it puts this all in perspective that crypto is kind of eating the traditional financial world. I'm only interested in Bitcoin in particular, but it's interesting to see these companies these crypto companies start to edge into the traditional financial world. If you want a deeper analysis of this, I recommend reading Ellie Frost's report. So she's got a really good report around Coinbase earnings. Her report is called the Frostbite, and she goes into in-depth as to how to calculate their financials, and if you want to go in the weeds there, she's perfect for that. So after Coinbase goes public, the question will be, who is next? And that's what I'm going to dive into. Before we dive into this, want to disclose I work at Kraken. Kraken is a crypto exchange. I am not privy to any conversations regarding fundraising or going public. Nothing I say here should be taken as a representation of Kraken or Kraken's value or intent to perform any sort of action. All right, with that disclosure being done, let's jump into crypto company valuations. So exchanges are the big money makers in crypto. They generate all the money because of all the trading activity that occurs, aka volatility equals more money for Coinbase, Kraken, etc. If Coinbase is worth $100 billion, then how much are these other exchanges worth? While many non-US exchanges are notorious for manipulating exchange volume metrics in order to attract traders, we can certainly come up with a ballpark figure for what they might be worth. So Binance. Binance has a token called BNB, which is a quasi-equity style instrument. If we take a look at CryptoWatch here, we can look at different exchanges and their volume and liquidity, and we can also take a look at the assets, so different crypto assets. So if we take a look at different crypto assets, BNB is valued at $73 billion. So that's essentially the value of Binance. Now, Binance also has equity. That's why I call it quasi-equity. So that's a good $70 billion worth company if we just look at the token alone. It's really hard for us to back into that to figure out the revenue numbers because they do a proof of burn with the BNB token that acts as kind of like a dividend in a way. Again, this is all sort of like new financial instruments that don't exactly map one-to-one with the traditional financial world, but we can't back into revenue, so we don't know how much money they make. But we assume they make a lot, because when we look at exchange volume, if this number is to be believed, they had $100 billion in trading volume, which is 30 times Coinbase's trading volume in a day. Now their take rate, aka how much of a cut they receive, trading fees wise, is a lot less than Coinbase. And we also have to trust that this volume number is real. So it's definitely very plausible that their valuation is at least 60 to 70 billion. With Kraken recently disclosed that it is seeking a $20 billion valuation in new fundraising talks. I'm not coming with internal information with this. This is from public information. It's from this article that I pulled up here. And so, yeah, we could say that Kraken is worth around 20 based on this information. Disclosure again, I work at Kraken. Sam, the CEO of FTX, he tweeted out a sneak peek of their financials. I did some back of the envelope math. It looks like they probably have a valuation of around 10 billion. their FTX token. So let me go find that FTX token. Let's see here. FTX is around a $4.5 billion valuation. I think that's actually a little bit low. If we back into their revenue, they should be trading more around 10 billion. They've also got this quasi-equity token, FTX token. Now, with these tokens, these are semi-legal instruments, semi-legal claim of ownership. They're not equity, so it's really tough to use these as a benchmark. But they're good enough. It's all we have right now. So, if we add all these up together, and there's tons of other exchanges I didn't mention. So again, on CryptoWatch, this site's awesome for checking out the price of Bitcoin, checking out the price of anything else, and also checking out exchange volume. If we scroll down and look at the aggregate volume of all these other exchanges and what revenue they might be generating, we could look at something really, it's probably a number that's a pretty substantial number. So, if we can't include we can't include exchanges like Bitstamp because they've already been acquired, so there's no fundraising rounds to calibrate with. But if we put all these exchanges together, I think it's very, very plausible that they could be worth around 300 billion. So you got Coinbase 100 billion, Kraken and Binance together equals 200 billion, and then the rest kind of combined might be worth 300 billion-ish. And then if we look at the spillover effect, so as Coinbase IPOs, then there's going to be a ton of upswelling of organic, and then the IPO plus the general upswelling of organic users through the price of Bitcoin, we could see other crypto companies raise really, really high in terms of valuation. Blockchain.com just raised a $5.2 billion value, 300 million at a $5.2 billion valuation. I don't know how they did this. I'm not sure how you could justify that valuation, but it is what it is. Fireblocks, PayPal. PayPal got acquired. Curve got acquired by PayPal. Bitpanda just raised at a $1.2 billion valuation. There's thousands of these companies, and I don't have time to list all of them. But it's just a sort of a sneak peek of how much valuation of crypto companies there might be. I mean, it's tons and tons of more companies. If we add $300 billion worth of exchange valuations, plus I would say 200 billion of thousands of crypto companies put together, it's kind of interesting because if we look at the total crypto market cap at 2 trillion, that puts the ratio of aggregate company valuation to crypto valuations at around 25%. I think a lot of folks look at like the Bitcoin dominance, which is kind of a silly metric, but they look at Bitcoin dominance and they look at aggregate crypto market cap. But this is pretty wild that this much value is accruing to crypto companies. And finally, is this good for Bitcoin? Some are concerned that when Coinbase goes public, that'll soak up demand that would have otherwise been spent on Bitcoin. I think this is overly pessimistic. Sure, Bitcoin is a substitute, or Coinbase is a substitute for Bitcoin, but it could be a substitute, but they're pretty much totally separate type of investments. So I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. And what will the newly flush shareholders, investors, and employees do with all that cash? I think there's a possibility they could sell the shares and invest the proceeds in Bitcoin, but I think that's unlikely. Vijay Poyapati had a great tweet storm on that I linked to, where I think he's correct that they don't want to increase their exposure even more. If they already have a lot of their net worth in this IPO money, in shares and in crypto already, it's very unlikely that they want to continue to keep all their money in it. But I think it's more positive that these newly flush shareholders could spin up new VC funds that could increase the visibility of Bitcoin and reinvest those proceeds into Bitcoin companies. Also, Coinbase and other crypto companies going public will reinforce that Bitcoin is here to stay. It's legitimate and it's trusted by institutions. This legitimacy or this legitimatization accelerates Bitcoin's adoption as it will unlock more demand from retail and institutions. The flywheel effect of trust, validation, more purchasing, and that's how it will work. I hope everyone found this to be entertaining and insightful. Again, apologies for the bad camera, bad lighting, bad audio, but thanks again for listening. Cheers.